Show 'em what you've got.
My Little Pony the movie. Back in the beginning of the 2010s, My Little Pony was one of the most unexpected phenomenons to ever appear in pop culture. Specifically, it was all caused by the fourth animated series of the franchise developed by Lauren Faust, My Little Pony: Friendship is Magic. No one could ever expect this reboot of toys from the 1980s would ever become so popular with the public, especially with grown adult men falling in love with a series that some would perceive as a cartoon for little girls. It is true that nowadays, the whole My Little Pony craze has significantly died down, and the show has passed its prime. So some could debate that this movie came in a little too late. As for my experience with My Little Pony, well, I don't think I could call myself a big fan. All my knowledge from it would be from my friends who love the show, and the most that I've seen is just a couple of episodes, and I did do a review on Equestria Girls a while back. So in this case, let's say that this review will be from a non-brony's perspective. So now that the main six are heading to the big screen, will the magic be as strong as they would bring it out on television? Or is this as appealing to watch as one of the more creepier fans that, sexually love the ponies? Let's find out. The story. I will give it this, the story does feel bigger than what you would normally have on TV. But the question remains, is it movie big? Well, kind of. Technically, it is true that the story itself would put the ponies in a bigger situation, where the evil Storm King invades Equestria in order to steal the princess's powers and take over the world. Which is why now our heroes have to go to distant lands to find help and save all that they love. However, the problem with it is that the storytelling doesn't feel like it's movie quality. The more it progresses, the more that it's noticeable that it follows a specific pattern. They would enter in a strange area, meet a new character and befriend them, sing a musical number, escape peril when danger arrives, and then go back to step one. After it runs into that cycle a few times, it would ultimately lead to the big finale where all the characters come together to fight the villain with all his power. Not only does it result in making the plot repetitive, but it also devalues the quality of the main story where now it runs on cliches and makes the movie entirely predictable. With all that said though, it does luckily have one thing that keeps the writing away from being completely bad, and that is the expansion of the world of Equestria. Considering that this is a franchise primarily made to sell toys, it really does get into detail about the new places the ponies get themselves into, along with the type of characters that they meet. From the shadiness of Clugtown to meeting up with pirates to even diving deep underwater to become sea ponies.
Wow! We need help to save Equestria.
What is happening?
At the very least, even if the plot is subpar, it does give a good variety of elements that you can only experience with this feature. There are some things in here that does make it feel movie-worthy, but with how the story is presented, it would take a lot more than friendship to fix that. The animation. One significant upgrade that it visually has over the TV show is the animation software that it used. Instead of using the usual Adobe Animate, the artist would use Toon Boom Harmony in order to make their animation. The result would make the visuals look a lot smoother than the ponies have ever been. It's quite noticeable how the movements are more handmade and less like the computer is doing most of the work for them. On top of that, now with this upgraded animation, it does not hold back on all the possibilities they could do with better movements, especially with all the musical numbers and action scenes. They each present a strong use of choreography, the large scale that surrounds the ponies, and the creative ways the characters would either move or use their powers. Another element that got improved is the backgrounds. Yes, there have been times in the show where the ponies get themselves into big places, but now these areas become more enriched in detail and even have some computer animation to show more depth. Surprisingly, the film is not as largely colorful as you'd expect from a My Little Pony movie, but it still does have a good use of it with some parts that can present themselves well. However, even with an upgraded look, don't expect to come in and think you'll find Disney-quality traditional animation. As it is a movie based on an animated series, it does step back a bit in order to capture the same simple look of the show. The designs stay very true to the style of Friendship is Magic, which includes new creative additions like the interpretations of pirates, hippogriffs, and sea ponies, but in terms of the character animation, while better, can still look like it has that Adobe quality into it. I'm not saying this is bad, it's more like a double-edged sword. But if there's one thing that this movie succeeded the most, it's taking the animation to a whole new level for the big screen. The characters. The show is quite well known for its large roster of characters, but in this case, that might not be a good thing. On top of the important ones that fans already know and love, the movie has to also introduce new ones, which leaves little room to give any sort of new arcs for the characters and would leave them one-dimensional in this film. With the main six, they're still the same as they are in the series. Twilight Sparkle is the responsible leader, Rainbow Dash is the sporty tomboy, Pinkie Pie is the party girl, Rarity is the fashionista, Applejack is the farm girl, and Fluttershy is the shy and quiet one. As for the new characters, again, they only have time to introduce themselves and play off their one character trait. Like Capper is the sly con artist, the pirates used to work for the Storm King, but now they got their groove back, and Skystar is the lonesome sea pony that is so excited that she now has friends. As for the villains, well, I know I kept on saying that the main bad guy is the Storm King, but he doesn't appear a lot in the film, and when he does, he acts more like a goofball than anything.
It's the magic of...
Yeah. Friendship and flowers and ponies and blue.
Now, the real antagonist of this movie that does all the hard work is actually Tempest Shadow. Out of all the characters in this film, she's probably the one that actually has any sort of development throughout the film. It would take a bit of time to show why she's evil and what happened to her horn, but for the most part, she's the threatening and mighty commander to the Storm King that would stop at nothing to capture Twilight Sparkle. Thankfully, the one thing that each of these characters present does give them some likability and help make the movie feel somewhat enjoyable. But even if they present some charm, the characters are a case of quantity over quality. The songs. I almost forgot that this show can have some musical moments, so it shouldn't be surprising that this movie would end up becoming a musical. I can see what it's trying to do with the songs, but there's just something about them that feels a bit, well, soulless. Allow me to explain. It's noticeable how it wants to be this grand musical. Like, if there's one thing you gotta remember from this, it's gotta be the times when the ponies sing. The way that they're executed, though, is that they don't feel like they want to be their own unique songs. Instead, they mostly emulate the style of Alan Menken in the hopes that this could feel like a Disney Renaissance movie. On top of that, every single one feels like they're singing about the same thing, which in this case is friendship. I know this is a movie of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, but all the songs feel the need to just hammer in that aspect that this is all about friendship. Rather it be We Got This Together, I'm the Friend You Need, Time to Be Awesome, One Small Thing, or even with the villain song Open Up Your Eyes.
More help is on the way, 'cause friends have friends that wanna help out too.
I'm the friend that you need when you're lost and don't know what to do.
And let it shine for all the world to see that it is time, yeah, time to be awesome. One small thing is not so small. One small thing can be the biggest thing of all.
way to survive is all alone.
The only one that's different from the rest has to be the one from Sia, Rainbow. But that isn't much, considering that it's your standard modern song made by a famous pop singer at the time, made exclusively for the film.
I can see a rainbow in your tears as they fall down.
I'm not saying that these songs are bad though. They are executed nicely with a good beat on each of them. But it's just with how it's trying to copy Disney, the repetitive theme of friendship, and the tiring use of them in the story strips away a lot of their memorability. Because of all that, the songs lack the soul that would make them unique and lovable. Without them, they're nothing but factory-made Disney clones. Yeah, I think this is one of those films that are made just for the fans. My Little Pony the movie takes the beloved ponies from the TV show and put them on the big screen in a way that is, okay. It definitely has a lot of problems, like a predictably weak story and forgettable songs, but it does have some nice animation and characters that have a bit of charm that can at least slightly entertain audiences. By the way, before the movie would start, there would be an animated short called Hanazuki. Honestly, it's easily noticeable that Hasbro slapped this one in at the last second just to promote the web series to the same target demographic as My Little Pony. Not gonna lie, although pretty colorful, I almost completely forgot that this short exists. As for the movie, of course fans of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic are gonna enjoy it a lot and even ignore the flaws in order to have a great time with it. However, for those who don't watch the series, you're not gonna miss anything if you choose to skip it. But if you get stuck in a position where you have to watch it, it's not gonna hurt and you will get some mild entertainment. So for Bronies and Pegasisters, it'll surely be a hit. But for non-fans, it exists.
Third to perhaps another view, then one small thing is not